chesedi bani, yedidai, yedidai. Olam chesedi bani, yedidai, yedidai. Olam chesedi bani, yedidai, yedidai. I will build this world from love. You must build this world from love. And if we build this world from love, then God will build this world from love. Olam chesedi bani, Olam chesedi bani, Shabbat Shalom. I'm an alto today. Sorry. I would like to invite our newly installed President Linda Barr for some announcements.
Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to Pride Night at Temple Israel. We want to thank the McMains family for blessing our candles and wine. Thank you. And as far as announcements goes, we just have a few. This Saturday, June 17th, Torah study will be online only. Please see the weekly email for the link. And on Friday, June 30th, our octogenarian lovebirds, Bill and Anita Block, there you are, right, are sponsoring an one in honor of their 65th wedding anniversary. So. And finally, we're going to ask you that you will join Temple Israel Sisterhood on Friday, July 21st at 6:15 p.m. for Shabbat service, followed by, and here's the operative word, a free dinner. More details coming soon. Okay, thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Well, we have a lot of guests today, so please welcome your neighbors and say Shabbat Shalom before we begin our service. It's my pleasure to call up Sue and Greg McMains to do the candle and Kiddush blessings. On page 2. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. If you'll raise the glass. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodesho b'yahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron l'maseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom techila lamikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'charta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat קודשך באהבה וברצון. הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen. Hi. Sorry, I forgot to tell you what page you're on. I'm not usually the one doing that. We'll turn to page 13 as we welcome in our Kabbalat Shabbat. But before we do, I have some readings that I would like to share in honor of our Pride Shabbat. This is coming from the Kol HaNeshama Shabbat V'Hagim. We come together this Shabbat, each bringing to this sanctuary a private world of hopes, of fears, and of dreams. Some of us are burdened by anxieties and cares that all but crash our faith in the future. Others have hearts filled with happiness, grateful for the joys of the past week, yet aware that even the most fortunate we are vulnerable before the mystery of tomorrow. Every life is a unique blending of joy and sorrow, of fulfillment and frustration. Beneath our uniqueness, we are all bound together by our common humanity. All of us most deeply yearn for the blessings of freedom and peace. Each of us seeks the personal liberation of a mind that is not enslaved to conventional wisdom. A heart that is able to love without fear, a spirit that cries yes to the universe. Each of us strives for the inner peace that comes with finding a harmony between our aspirations and our abilities. This is the Shabbat peace to which we aspire. Let's sing a joyful song, Shir Chadash, page 13. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. Sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, and we'll all sing along. All the earth, a new song unto God. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. I will sing unto God a new song. The prayer L'Chadodi, where we welcome her in as a Shabbat bride, is taking on new meaning tonight. Come, my beloved, to welcome Shabbat. Come, my beloved, we say to Shabbat, we turn and welcome her in. Sometimes we compare her to a bride, sometimes to a queen. Every time we compare her to a woman, and ourselves to a group of male lovers waiting for her to arrive. We don't get enough stories about women who are loved by women, about men who are loved by men. We don't get enough stories about lovers who are neither men nor women. We don't get enough stories in which love does not fade, in which we see ourselves as the lovers and the Jews we are. We have been given something in Ruth and Naomi, in David and Jonathan, and in Joseph, something we hold and we cherish, but that had also been clouded, questioned, and hidden. We honor that, we honor them, but we want more, and we deserve more. Every Friday we bow, and in front of us is more, and in front of us is love. Love, however we feel it. Page 20, the words of L'Chadodi beginning of the final verse, we will rise and face the entrance to the doors of our sanctuary or to our home. Not yet? You can sit until I call you. Okay. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamur v'zachur b'dibur echad, Hishmiyanu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad, Shemo echad, L'shemo tiferet v'litchila. Lecha dodi, Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor habracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'mashchavat chila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Verse 5. Hitoreri, kiva ora kumi uri, shudaberi, kevod Adonai alayich nidla. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Please rise in body or in spirit and face the entrance to our sanctuary or to your home. Bo'hi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha uv'sochula, toch emune am segula, bo'hi chala. Lecha, you can face forward. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Page 26, please join me in the Chatzi Kaddish. Yikada v'yikada shemei Rabba, Ve'alma divrach yirtei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael, Ba'agala, uv'izman kariv, v'yimeru amen, Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach, Le'alamu amei amaya yitbarach v'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar v'yitroma v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal, shemei d'kudesha berichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma, v'yimeru amen. The call to worship is found on page 28. La 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 la, ya la 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 la. ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruch hu et Adonai Hamevorach. We all bow together. Baruch Adonai Hamevorach. Hamevorach leolam vayit. Hamevorach, Hamevorach leolam vayit. As the sun sinks and the colors of the day turn, we offer a blessing for twilight. For twilight is neither day nor night, but in between. We are all twilight people. We can never be fully labeled or defined. We are many identities and loves, many genders and none. We are in between roles at the intersection of histories or between place and place. We are crisscross paths of memory and destination, streaks of light and swirled together. We are neither day nor night. We are both, neither, and all. May the sacred in-between of this evening suspend our certainties, soften our judgments, and widen our vision. May this in-between light illuminate our way to the God who transcends all categories and definitions. May the in-between people who have come to pray be lifted up into this twilight. We cannot always define. We can always say a blessing, though. Blessed are you, God of all, who brings on the twilight. Page 34 and 35. Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kivud Malchuto, Leolam Vayit. You may be seated and join me with the Via Havta on page 36. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadavarim ha'ele asher Anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha U'letecha v'derech, u'v'shokbecha u'v'kumecha, u'kshartam le'ot ayadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, u'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha, u'v'isharecha, leman tizkeru v'asitem ekol mitzvotai, v'tem kedoshim lelohechem, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher Hotzeiti Etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem l'Elohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem. This last paragraph that we just chanted together, I will be reading out of the Torah. And it does talk about how you shall remember to observe the commandments. This Torah portion is about the tzitzit, the fringes of the prayer shawl, reminding us to do the commandments that God has asked of us. So be listening to the word tzitzit and to that last paragraph of the Via Havta later in the service. This is called The Crossing by Dan Bellum. God did not lead us by the nearer way when Pharaoh let the people go at last, but roundabout by the way of the wilderness, pillars of fire and cloud marking night and day, to the edge of the flood tide, uncrossable and vast. If God has led us by the nearer way, we cried, we wouldn't die here. Let Egypt oppress us as it will. Let us return to the past. But we have come out by the way of the wilderness, in fear, on faith, free now, because we say we are free, no longer the unchosen, the outcast. God did not lead us by the nearer way, but into rising waters, which do not part, unless with an outstretched arm we step forward and stand fast. Roundabout, by way of the wilderness, we have come blessed with love, lesbian, gay, or sanctified in ways of our own, to bless our God, who did not lead us by the nearer way, but by roundabout, by the way of the wilderness. Page 40, our prayer for freedom, Mi Chamocha. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot o seifele, nora tehilot o seifele. Malechutecha Ra'uvanecha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam zelianu ve'amaru Adonai imloch le'olam va'id. The prayer that we say to our children as we tuck them in at night to a prayer of renewal for when they wake up in the morning, the Hashkivenu, and its interpretation on page 42. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'ha'amidenu shamreinu l'chayim, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right, O Adonai. Amen. Amen, 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 amen. Oh, Adonai. Pray as if everything depended upon God, but act as if everything depended on you. Please turn to our Amidah as we rise, page 46. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Page 48. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Hanora, Elayom, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, V'zocher Chaste Avot V'imahot, Umevi Geula Lifnei V'neihem, Lama'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezra Tzara, page 50. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מחכה החיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. You may be seated. On page 55, please join me at the top. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And this day fulfill its promise together. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Our prayer for the most abundant source of peace, Shalom Rav, page 60. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atah melech adon l'chol hashalom. Ki atah melech adon l'chol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'chov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol tovecha shah bishlomecha. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Please take a few moments for silent reflection. Yihu l'ratzon imrei fi, v'hegyon libi lefanecha. Yihu l'ratzon imrei fi, Adonai tzuri v'goali. shalom bimroma hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. Yihiu l'ratzon imrei fi Egion libi lefanecha Yihiu l'ratzon imrei fi Adonai tzuri v'goali Yihiu l'ratzon imrei fi It's time for our Torah service. It begins on page 246. I would like to invite my Hagba, Scott, up to the bima. You don't have to run. We're going to be here all night. It's okay. And I would like to invite Linda Barr to open our ark. Please rise. Please rise. Ki mitzion teitzei Torah. You can open the ark. Ki mitzion teitzei Torah u'devar Adonai mirushalayim Baruch shenatan Torah Torah Baruch shenatan Torah Torah Le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo. Just turn around for 1 second. Gadolu Adonai iti Onaramemo Shemo Yata Lecha Adonai Hagedula v'hagevura v'hatiferet v'hanizrod Ki kol b'shamayim v'aretz Ki kol b'shamayim v'aretz Lecha Adonai ha'mamlacha v'hamitnaseh lecha lerosh Al shlosha devarim Al shlosha devarim Al shlosha devarim ha'olam omed Al shlosha devarim Al shlosha devarim Al shlosha devarim ha'olam omed Al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim Al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim Al shlosha devarim Al shlosha devarim Al shlosha devarim may be seated. Thank you for singing with me tonight. This has been a little challenging. But it's not High Holiday, so that's good, right? So we are going to communally do the Aliyah blessing. We are here as a community, so we will all sing together. You can turn in your prayer book to page 250 for the blessing of Torah. Together. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorach, Baruch Adonai Hamvorach leolam va'ed, Baruch Ata Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, V'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch Ata Adonai, Noten ha'Torah. I'm going to read the translation first. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel and bid those who they make them seat, show and tell, these fringes, in the borders of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put on the fringe of each border a thread of blue. And it shall be to you for a fringe, that you may look on it and remember all the commandments of the Lord and do them, and that you not follow after your heart and your eyes, after which you go astray, that you may remember," here's the ending part of the V'ahavta, "to do all my commandments and be holy to your God. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am the Lord your God." And it's customary to take the fringes and touch the beginning of the portion where you start to read. Amen. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor daber el bnei Yisrael va'amarta alehem va'asu lachem tzitzit al kanfei bigdehem ledorotam v'natnu al tzitzit hakanaf pitchil techelet v'haya lachem letzitzit uritem oto uzchartem et kol mitzvot Adonai vasitem otam v'lo techuru acharei levavchem v'acharei anechem asher itam zonim achareihem Leman tiskaru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai pitem kedoshim lalohechem. If you know it well enough, you can join me. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. The ending blessing on page 250. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chaye olam nata betochenu. Baruch Ata Adonai noten ha'Torah. I bet you all didn't know you were reading Torah tonight, did you? With our Torah before us and the story of our people, it is time for us to sing the Mishaberach prayer, a prayer for healing. And in the midst of the prayer, you'll find it on page 253. I will look upon you, and if you have a name of somebody you would like to say out loud, please feel free to share it as my eyes meet yours. Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. If you have a name to share aloud, please share as I look upon you. Harvey? Carol? Barb? David? Jake? Lisa? Barb? Eileen? Candy? Ari? Bob? Anita?
Nancy Kelly.
Kathy Meyerson. Mi shebeirach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We're going to go a little out of order, Alex. I'm going to do the Vizot first, and then we'll invite Joe up to speak. So you have some space up here. I ask Scott to come lift, and as the Torah is raised, please rise as well. Bring it over this and down. Vizot Torah asher samosha lifnei bnei Yisrael. Al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Put it down. Yad elai lai lai, yad lai 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 lai, yad lai 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 lai, yad lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai, yad lai 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 lai, yad lai You may be seated. It is my honor to invite Joe Gardner up to our bima to share his story with us.
Shabbat Shalom. Nora Fromson suggested that I do this Devar Torah back in April, and I thought, how fabulous. Then I realized what information and experience I'd had to sort through, and I thought, oh dear. So, the first tidbit of information I'll share is that I've discussed this with the second-year Neomed, formerly Neo-UCOM, students for over 25 years. I could tell them everything I knew for the first couple of years, and then over time, that became impossible. It took another few years for me to realize that this was okay. Likewise, there's no way I can tell you everything in a 10 to 15-minute speech, and that's okay. If you have any questions at any time later on, I'll be glad to answer them. This begs the question of what do I talk about to the Neomed students? I'm what's called a standardized patient. I've attended what's traditionally been called Sexy Saturday, where the second-year students learn how to take a sexual history of their patients. My role is that of a female-to-male transgender patient, but this isn't simply a role I play for the students. It's my actual lived experience. So, in case you didn't know before, I am an honest-to-goodness female-to-male transgender person. I came out the first time as a gay female back in 1988. I was wondering if I was trans then, but the politics of the time were that trans people were reinforcing gender stereotypes, and we were all one happy androgynous family, so I put those feelings on the proverbial back burner. I started attending Cleveland PFLAG meetings, Parents, Family, Friends of Lesbians and Gays, and PRISM, Presence and Respect of Youth and Sexual Minority meetings, and became involved in the Cleveland gay and lesbian community until I graduated from Cleveland State University in December of 1991 and moved back to Akron. I say gay and lesbian community because the bi and trans had not yet been added to the acronym at that time. I then started attending the Akron PFLAG meetings where I first met the Horowitzes and the Schoenfelds in 1992. I continued self-identifying as a gay female, but I still had this underlying idea that there was a masculine sense of self that wasn't being addressed. However, gender identity still wasn't discussed at that time, and so I kept my feelings hidden. Then in 1993, two watershed events for the trans community happened. The first was the Brandon Tina murder, on which the movie Boys Don't Cry is based. It's to the trans community like what the Matthew Shepard murder was to the gay community. It helped galvanize community support. The second event was the publication of the novel Stone Butch Blues by Leslie Feinberg. For the latter, I was at an Akron PFLAG meeting when we had a guest speaker, Buck Harris, now of blessed memory, who had his own radio show in Cleveland and had mentioned drag kings in passing. Hello. I had figured that if drag queens existed, then there probably had to be drag kings too, but I had never heard of any until then. When we took our break at the meeting, I asked him about it and he told me about the above-mentioned book. I purchased a copy, read it, and it brought back those feelings that I had suppressed earlier. I realized that I was in fact trans, so I started counseling that fall. I genuinely thought that a year of counseling was required before I could start any physiological treatments, but I later found out that I only needed 3 months. In hindsight, I was glad I took that extra time because it allowed me a chance to backpedal, ask myself if I really wanted to go through with this, and to conclude that, yes, I needed to transition. I realized that I also needed pastoral counseling as well, as I was concerned that I was essentially mocking God by transitioning. After all, I developed normally as a female. I was having periods with cramps and was otherwise functioning properly. The Lutheran pastors I went to weren't able to help me all that much, so I went to see Rabbi Horowitz since I knew him from PFLAG and that he would at least be sympathetic. After discussing my situation, he said that he didn't think that God was mad at me for wanting to make this transition, and that was very helpful. Thanks, David. I started taking testosterone injections on December 30th of 1994 and started my real-life test of living as male. As of my standing here this evening, I've been on testosterone for almost 28 and a half years and for over half of my lifetime. During this time, I became familiar with the WPATH, the World Professional Association of Transgender Health, Standards of Care Guidelines. WPATH is a consortium of various health professionals who set the standards of best practices in the medical procedures of transitioning for transgender people, say that 3 times fast. And those best practices have changed over time as more information has become available. For example, it used to be that a female-to-male person like myself had to have been living full-time for at least a year before having top surgery, that is breast removal. However, there was a realization that men who had double D-sized breasts had considerable difficulty in hiding them, especially during the summer, so that rule was relaxed. I'll discuss more on WPATH shortly. I had my top surgery and hysterectomy in December of 1998. I had them done at the same time because it cut down on the overall cost to have them done together. Insurance did not yet cover this, so this was paid entirely out of pocket. I was fortunate to have them done locally at Akron General, and I was also very fortunate in that my parents were willing and able to look after me while I recovered. I cannot tell you how many stories I've heard from people whose families have rejected them for being LGBTQ+, so I am really lucky. I then had my bottom surgery, that is my genitoplasty, in April of 2001. I traveled to Montreal, Canada to have the procedure done because, 1, there weren't many surgeons in the U.S. who did the procedure. 2, if they did, it was horrendously expensive. This was paid out of pocket again. And the monetary exchange rate for Canada was favorable. 3, the doctors there had their own private clinic, which meant more privacy. And 4, Canadians utilize these convalescent residences, which are home-like places where a person can stay as they recover from a procedure. Having the surgery done in the U.S. would have meant interstate travel and an overnight stay at the hospital. I would have then been discharged the next day and have had to recover at a hotel where hopefully the person who traveled with me knew something about postoperative care. I traveled to Montreal on April 1st, had the surgery on the 3rd, and returned home on the 23rd. That's the story of my transitioning. Now I'm going to segue into discussing what's now going on legislatively, specifically in Ohio, and overall to some extent. I'll discuss trans athletes first, but I need to define something. The term cis, C-I-S, means on the same side. So to help you out with that, I'm trans, but I believe everyone else in this present in this room is cis, so that should help you out there. Many people say that cis males have an unfair advantage over cis females and therefore should not be allowed to participate in women's sports. This is where I'm going to show that the trans community is not monolithic in our viewpoints. I studied sports medicine and athletic training for my first few years of college, and I've learned that there are some musculoskeletal differences in the bodies of mature men and women, such as the Q angle of the pelvis, knee, and tibia. Does this difference matter in sports where there's a lot of running? I don't know. However, I've heard from male to female friends that their strength took a nosedive downwards when they started their feminizing hormone replacement therapy. I also understand that the NCAA guideline on when male to female athletes are eligible to play women's sports is at least 1 year on feminizing hormone replacement therapy, along with a blood test showing lower testosterone levels comparable to Swiss women's levels. My own personal thought is that this should be handled on a case-by-case basis if the person has gone through cis male puberty. Considering that the number of male to female trans athletes are in the single digits here in Ohio, it should not be difficult to determine eligibility on a case-by-case basis. I have not heard of any issues regarding trans men, like myself, competing with other men, as everyone involved has testosterone either endogenously or exogenously supplied. Next, Ohio House Bill 8 would require school staff to call students by their birth name and whichever gender markers on their birth certificate. Moreover, the staff would be required to notify the student's parents or guardians if the students request to be called by a different name and pronoun. How would you feel if you were denied your correct name and pronoun? There's a real danger to these students if the parents or guardians are not supportive due to religious or other reasons. School may be the only relatively safe haven for these particular kids. Ohio House Bill 68 would ban gender-affirming care for youth. There are those folks who worry about irreversible HRT and or surgery being performed on people who are too young to consent to such procedures. There is some validity to this notion of irreversibility. I could never take another testosterone shot in my life, and I'll always be able to sing baritone. My voice will never change back to the mezzo-soprano range that I once had. I'll also always be able to grow a beard unless I have electrolysis done. Having said that, I had mentioned that I would be discussing WPATH again, and here it is. WPATH already does not recommend cross-gender hormone replacement therapy along with gender-affirming surgical procedures until a person has reached the age of majority. However, puberty blockers may be used on people who are at the Tanner stage 2 level of puberty. These blockers are also used for cisgender kids who are undergoing precocious puberty and have been found to be effective. Bills in other states have been proposed that trans people should not be allowed to access treatment until the age of 26. However, people who are 18 years old may consent to procedures such as breast enhancement or reduction, rhinoplasty, that is a nose job, tummy tucks, and various other cosmetic procedures, along with consenting to have piercings or getting tattoos. What these proposed bills do is create a double standard of what can be done for one set of people versus another set of people. Ohio House Bill 183 would restrict restroom and locker room access in Ohio schools and universities to people's birth-assigned sex. Let's think about this. Would a cis person go through years of counseling, hormone replacement therapy, a legal name change, telling family and friends about the change to a new gender expression with the risk of losing them? All this, at the very least, just to be able to go into the locker room of the other sex? I'm sure you'd agree that they wouldn't, and it shows how ridiculous the hysteria is. In closing, I'd like to share how I've seen change for good in the LGBTQ plus community. When I was at Cleveland State in the late 80s, early 90s, we would hang up signs for the SAS, Student Alliance for the Support of Sexualities, student group, and they would be torn down or deliberately covered up by the next day, if not before. Likewise, there would be banners from various student groups, fraternities, sororities, and international student groups hung in the Student Center. Once, the CSU Gay Men's Support Group had an approved banner hung up in the CSU Student Center, and it was torn down within 20 minutes. Many of you remember that that's how things were back then. Then I was back in school at Stark State in the late aughts. One time I passed by a GSA, Gay Straight Alliance, a flyer that was on a bulletin board in a busy hallway, and I thought how lucky I was that I was able to see it after it had evidently just been put up. Then I went past the same spot a day later, saw the flyer, walked past, and did a double take. It was still there. And then it was still there the next day, and the next week, and the next month, and it was looking kind of ratty, but it was still there. I was so pleased to see how LGBTQ plus postings were accepted as no big deal, and as ordinary as any of the other flyers. I've not been on a college campus in a few years, so I hope that these flyers are still regarded as the same as other student group flyers. However, this experience showed me that things did indeed change for the better, and may they continue changing for the better. Shabbat Shalom.
That was amazing. It takes a lot of courage to get up in front of a crowd and tell your life story like that. So thank you so much, Joe. It is time to return our Torah to the Ark. Please turn to page 256 and please rise. Page 282 for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shameach l'adon hakol, l'tekedu l'aleatzer v'reshit, shelo asanu k'goyei haratzut, v'lo samanu k'mishpachat adama, shelo sam chalkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'chol hamana, v'anachnu kori, משתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד You may be seated. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. Those observing a Yortzeit for Katie Alpern Backer, Rose Bear, Max A. Bernstein, Isidore H. Birnbaum, Simon Epstein, Dr. Irving Feigenbaum, Henley K. Freeman, Clara Friedman, Minnie Friedman, Michael Brett Fromson, Lois S. Greenwald, Lena Heyman, Donald Kaufman, Goldie Fromson Lieberman, Hilda Love, Greta Meyer, John R. Morris, Rosina Moss, Ben Nemiroff, Bessie Nevins, Jacob M. Noble, Rosa Rivkin, Margaret Kleinman Rolnick, Leah Noble Siff, Louis Schwartz, Nathan Stein, Joseph Sood, Aaron H. Tarr, Carol Burke Tolchinsky, Marie Wachner, Katie Wolfand, Rosalind Wolfson, and Marilyn Zuckerman. If there are names I omitted or names I mispronounced, please share them at this time. Please turn to page 294 as we rise in a community of support, the Mourner's Kaddish. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divrach hirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala uv'izman kari v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mavarach le'olam u'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha barichu. Le'elan min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all of Israel, as we say together, amen. Having connected to those we loved and lost, let's connect with the words of the priests. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'ir Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May he shine his countenance upon you and be gracious. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. And may we all be together as a community in love and in peace as we say, Amen. Please be seated. This is that time when we call upon you to give us some Shechianu moments, the grateful opportunity we have to be here together and to all witness something that wonderful happened in your lives. I'll take a couple tonight if you would like to share. Sue.
We have a few in our family. Our son graduated from residency.
My
Wonderful.
husband is retiring. Greg's retiring. Uh-oh, that means you're going to be here more, right, Greg?
And we have a new baby on the way.
And a new baby on the way. Well, that's a trifecta, I would say, right? Wonderful. Anybody? Julie.
Our daughter-in-law, finished radiation treatment.
Oh, wonderful. Mazel tov. Give her our best, please. Daughter-in-law. Anybody? Susie?
I got a Facebook message this week from some students from 40 years ago. They were 7th and 8th graders when I taught junior high school. It turns out they've been looking for me for the past 20 years. Told me I was the most inspirational teacher that they had, and we're having dinner together on Wednesday.
Wow, reuniting with students from, oh my gosh, that's incredible. I did read about that on Facebook. That's amazing. And that box that had notes in it or something? Oh, wow, that's amazing. So before we sing our Shehechianu, I wanted to also thank our Bima guest, Scott Fromson, Linda, our president, and Joe Gardner for his words of wisdom, and a sorrowful goodbye to Alex. We are so going to miss you, Alex. But he's off to Fairmount Temple to just wow them, I'm sure. So thank you for being here. Let us all sing Shehechianu together. Yeah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. אמן. Amen. If Linda, you'll uncover the challah. And let's all sing the motzi together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Let us build a world of love. Sing with me, Olam Chesed Yibaneh, as we close out our Shabbat service. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Yedidai, Yedidai, Yedidai. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Yedidai, Yedidai, Yedidai. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Yedidai, Yedidai, Yedidai. Chesed Yibaneh, Yadadai, Yadadai, Yadadai. Shabbat Shalom. Have a great weekend.